got the thing, though, I appreciate that.
I'll leave it here in case one. I don't know. Okay.
I don't know why they always think.
We're live, folks.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll wait for pizza.
I see that. Our flag is over here. for our meeting.
You can verbal it, and put it on there. Just say, change the word of it to
Exactly. Yes, I do, yes. And I sent them all.
Can't start without.
All right, start the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, we're a little late. An executive session. Training. I guess with that, I'd like to recognize any resident or taxpayer that wishes to address the board about title programming or other matter concern or interest properly raised in a public session. So with that, I'm going to special presentation from Keystone Associates.
Guess I'm up.
You're up.
Thank you very much. For those who don't know me, which probably most of you don't, obviously Barry does. My name is Paul Bedford from Keystone Associates. That, see me on here. But basically we're a firm in Binghamton. I'm trying to get out of your way. So, but we've been working with the district for many years. Okay. And we've done a number of different projects with the district, but Barry had contacted us about working with you folks to put together a facilities assessment study. And so just wanted to go kind of run through some things about the study and what we would be doing, how we would be doing it, and let you ask questions from there. So, go ahead. So our firm, Keystone Associates, is made up of architectural individuals in the office. I'm one of the partners. Civil engineering, which my partner is a civil engineer by trade. Survey, we have a survey partner as well, and then environmental engineering as well. We also do geotechnical engineering for additions and new buildings as well. And then we have consultants that'll be on board on this project with Harris Engineering, Klepper, Hahn and Hyatt, who's a structural and landscape engineering firm, and Commercial Consulting LLC, who's a kitchen designer who works throughout the Northeast on various kitchen designs, VA systems. He's actually a veteran from the service. Has been in the kitchen industry for a lot of years. Just a couple slides to give you some idea of some things that we've done in the past and some assessments. Two districts we've been working with for a long time, North Valley and Washingtonville. These are both in New York State. We've done their building assessment, facilities assessment studies over the years, a number of different times. In New York State, we actually have to do them regularly. Actually, there's a regular interval that New York State requires that each school district does them on and submit the paperwork to the state so that they know and have an idea of the work that has to be done. So North Valley, we've done a number of different studies for them. The facility study, building condition survey, as they're called in New York State. And Washingtonville, which is a large district of about 5,000 students. I think they've got like 5 buildings. Their last one in 2015. They're not due until I think 2024 in New York State to do their next one. We're already talking with them about that as well. These two districts, Shenango Forks and Oneonta, we've worked with them as well and done surveys for them. Oneonta we've actually worked with since 1999, doing, I don't know, we're probably 20, 25, 30 projects throughout the years with them. Probably 4 or 5 different building assessments and facilities assessment projects with them to go through and look at, from soup to nuts, A to Z, on their buildings to see what they need to have done in their next 5, 6, 7 years. Go ahead. So I want to run through kind of our approach and what we would be looking at, how we would be going through and doing this project, and so you have a good understanding. So if you decide to go ahead with us, first thing we'd be doing is meeting with the district, and I'd leave that up to Barry and who those people were that we'd be meeting with right off the bat, from the administration side, district side, to try to get an understanding of what you envision, what you want to look at, not only building wise, but there's always other extraneous things. I think one of the things that's in your RFP is such as changing the elementary building and moving that age group around a little bit, and creating a real middle school with this building. What does that mean? What's the number of students? All those type of things. So, along with other uses of the building and et cetera. So we want to meet with and try to get an overall scope and an idea from your side what you want looked at besides just the bricks and mortar, shall we say. And then after that, we want to get with Ray and start looking at the available documents that he has of the building. We have some information from past projects. There's certain information that we don't have. We don't have a lot of floor plan information, as an example of Snyder building. So we want to get that so we can get that plan down, start being able to look at that in a little more detail of what's there, how the building lays out, specifically in plan-wise, and be able to take notes from that, et cetera. So we want to go through those drawings. And then we want to walk through all the facilities. We know quite a bit through the years and all the work that we've done, but a lot of that work has been at these buildings rather than over at Snyder itself. So we need to get more familiar, and there's certain areas we don't know as well as we do know others. So we want to make sure that we go through every nook and cranny and areas that maybe the public is not quite as familiar with, and other areas that they may see a lot of. And so we want to go through the building and get a good familiarity with that. So some of the things that we'll be looking at in specific, and some of these actually have subcategories with them. So I kind of try to generalize a little bit. Drainage of your exterior site work. How does the drainage work? Are there areas that pond an awful lot that we need to look at that we can correct with some drainage? Pavement and sidewalks. When's the last time you had some pavement work done? Is some of those pavement work starting to fall apart? You're having a lot of breakup. The sidewalks starting to break up and raise and heave and crack and that type of things. Site amenities. Are there other things, catch basins and other things that might need to be looked at that are part of that? And then your athletic fields and playgrounds. Obviously, playgrounds over at Snyder and the athletic fields more here. What's the condition of them? Probably a dozen years ago, we did the track over here. A lot of those times, those tracks need to be recoated at least once every 15 years. And it's been quite a while. What's the condition of them? Sometimes they start peeling, and that can cause some dangerous situations for your athletes as well. Landscaping. What is the landscaping like within both buildings? Are there some grassy areas that really aren't too much grassy right now? They're more dirt and they should be resodded or reseeded or that type of thing. Should we have some other type of landscaping in some parts of the building to make it look a little bit better? Structural conditions. We have our structural engineers actually walk the building completely and look for different signs that they know of that might show some inherent problems that generally people don't see and don't really recognize or understand. Some things that Ray may see on an annual basis because he's maybe looking at those type of things, and might see them. Other things that we're just going to be looking around and seeing the conditions, whether it be it might be a floor that's uneven or maybe a crack in a wall. A lot of times those things aren't structural, but they're things to look at to make sure that from your side you feel comfortable that there's not a problem with your buildings. Finishes, that range from the carpet on the floor to the ceilings that might be having a roof leak from previous that hasn't been taken care of, or it could be cracks in the plaster wall, or there's a lot of different things when it comes to finishes. We'll just look at it and make sure that the conditions are right, or there may be areas that really should be replaced. Some floor tile that might be popping up, that might be loose or cracked, and that type of thing. The building envelope, which really encompasses, you know, the exterior part of the building. We'll look at the brick, we'll look at the windows, we'll look at the doors. Some of that stuff has been replaced already, you know, we replaced some of the windows a few years ago. Before that, we replaced some of the doors here at this building. But there's others that been around a long time, you know, maybe it's a single pane glass that you have, maybe some of the doors are really starting to rust out pretty bad and don't close well and don't give enough security, or let in a lot of air because the weather stripping has been torn off over the years. You know, doors, frames, and hardware, like I just said, the interior doors. You know, what are the conditions of your interior doors? What we've seen a lot of times is the veneers on a lot of the doors that are older sometimes start ripping off along the edges because they start catching the frame and they start looking pretty ratty. You know, so we look at those. What are the conditions of those frames? Usually the frames are not too bad on interior situations, but doors, they wear out over a period of time. And hardware, especially, you'll have situations where they haven't been maintained. Closures aren't in place like they should be on rated doors and those types of things. Casework and lockers are a couple of big things that people really don't, unfortunately, pay a lot of attention to. They're there, they're used a lot, they get abused a lot over the years, but they're also something that people generally don't pay a lot of attention, don't spend a lot of money on, but they do get a lot of use. You know, what are the casework, especially in the elementary schools where they use a lot of those. Of course, the lockers are big in the high school and middle school, both in locker rooms and the corridor lockers, and what kind of conditions. In this day and age, obviously, all the kids are carrying backpacks with all their books in it. You know, the locker's big enough. Generally, they're not in this day and age. So, you know, what are those situations? In the kitchen and serving areas, you know, what are the conditions? Obviously, I've taken a few pictures of talking with our kitchen consultant. You know, some of those kitchen equipment, they've been there quite a while. Still probably, I heard that. You know, that they've been serving you well, but they probably are due for some updates. And you know, the serving lines, are they handicap accessible for those who are disabled? You know, so there's a lot of things to look at, and we'll look at that as well. And accessibility. I mean, there's a lot of things that goes into accessibility. It's not just getting the people into the building, but then getting around in the building itself. You know, simple things like door hardware. Is it still the old knobs, or you got lever handles throughout your building so that, you know, the disabled can actually get into buildings? You know, what are the bathrooms like? Well, you know, things have changed. You know, maybe they were renovated 20 years ago for accessibility, but the codes and regulations have changed. In fact, just recently, the ANSI requirements of, I think it's a 2017 or 19 ANSI code, which we have to go by, increase the size of the trimming radius. For many, many years, it used to be 5 feet. Now it's enlarged to 5 feet 7 to get more room for accessibility for those people in a wheelchair. So, you know, what are those situations that you have in your buildings? And then the plumbing systems, you know, what are they like? What kind of conditions are, you know, is Ray seeing some issues with leaks or some hard water or whatever it might be in both buildings? The mechanical equipment, which obviously is kind of where this whole thing started, with what can be done with mechanical equipment and what needs to be replaced, from the coolers and the chillers to the HVAC, you know, air handling units, rooftop units, anything like that. You know, a lot of your equipment is old. Fortunately, a few years ago, we replaced the boilers, and they were very much in need of replacement. But what other equipment throughout the buildings, which are now old, should be replaced? They have a lifetime expectancy of a certain time period, and, you know, probably some of that is exceeded at this point in time. But what are the priorities of those as well? And then electrical items as well. You know, you got lighting throughout your buildings. As an example, you know, can you save a lot of energy by going to LED fixtures in other areas that you haven't changed out? Obviously, we've all gotten used to having a lot of electricity in our homes. Schools are no different. You know, you need plugs everywhere. Everybody wants to plug in their iPhone, their chargers, and everything else. You know, so what do we have? And we'll look at data as well. You know, what do you have for your data wiring, et cetera, and Wi-Fi and those type of things. So we'll comment about those as well. And then code compliance. You know, are you maintaining your code requirements? You know, through the years of a building being built, things change. You know, and some things aren't maintained. Sometimes codes change, and what things should be addressed to make sure that you're still in compliance with the regulations of the building code. Okay. And then we'll take that after reviewing the buildings, we'll start conducting interviews. Ray, his staff, the administrative staff, whoever else you want to have involved, we'll gladly be able to talk to. You never know where you're going to get certain input from, and it's good to consider that because a custodial staff may be used to cleaning certain areas of the building and seeing the same thing year after year after year. That may be an issue that may never have made it any further than just his eyes and ears, and so those type of things need to be taken into account. You never know what those items are that could be replaced, could be updated, could be corrected. And then we'll create our draft report, start putting that all on paper so that there's some issues and some things that can be gone over. And then we'll meet with the district, whoever that may be, and start going over those items to start talking about what we saw, what could be used, how it could be used, what could be done, what the priorities are. And then from there, we would go back and start investigating maybe certain items a little bit further. There's always going to be things that did you look at, or what did you really think of X, Y, and Z. We want to make sure that we give you the most accurate information out of this report so it becomes very useful for you. And then step 8, we want to look at the elementary middle school situation that you asked about in your RFP. What can be done? What are the spaces at both buildings? How can the spaces be used and reallocated? What can you make work in that regards? And how can we make those spaces available for you? And then the pool facility. What kind of upgrades or changes to the pool space? Obviously, it's at the far end of this building, so it makes it a challenge for any other types of uses. But what can be done? Well, and if we keep the pool usable, then what kind of things need to be done with the pool to make sure that the pool is usable for the community for many years to come. And then we'll be looking at the benchmark analysis that was in the RFP to look at what needs to be done with that, as well as reviewing the energy usage of the buildings. Everybody has their electric and gas bills that can be looked at. What happens if you start replacing some of these mechanical units and upgrading? A lot of people think, well, they're going to be much more efficient, so we should be saving a lot of money. Unfortunately, a lot of times what the codes require is that, especially with school buildings, you have to bring in so much more additional outside air for the faculty and students that sometimes they're not quite as energy savings as you would expect. Even though the units are very energy efficient, you're not saving as much because you're bringing a lot of outside air to keep fresh air in the building, so that the kids aren't breathing a lot of CO2 and that type of thing. But then it has to be sent back out in the building and new air brought back in. So there's that constant movement of air within your rooms. Go ahead. And then once we've got all that information together, we can start looking at costs. What are the costs of all these individual things? So you know, and it becomes what we call a cafeteria list for you, so that you can look at maybe these are the priorities 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but because of your budget, maybe you can do 1, 2, 4, and 7 this year or next year, whatever it might be. But we can put those costs together so you can have an idea of what it would take. It'll be real-time costs this year, but you have to take into account we don't know what's going to happen next year. None of us knew what was going to happen last year and things. We all probably heard and read about the skyrocketing cost of building materials and that type of thing. Some of that stuff is kind of leveled off. Some of the stuff is still going up. I get emails all the time from contractors we're dealing with their comments about construction costs, the supplies that they're trying to buy, that type of thing. And it is difficult. It's difficult on their end. It'll be difficult to kind of estimate, but we'll do our best. And then we'll meet again with the district to review those findings and get those things finalized, make sure you're in agreement, and do a presentation to the board again. Anywhere in there, obviously, things can change, shift a little bit if need be. If requested by the district, we can do multiple board presentations if you request. If you want a draft presentation, that can be done as well in there too. But this is just a general review of what can be done at that point. Okay? And that's it. I've talked enough. You've got plenty of other things to do, so I'll stop and open it up for questions. And I do have copies here for you too as well, if you want. So. All So I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, I have a question. So one thing I did see is the Litchfield area. I'm just trying to think of all of our properties that we own. Is that out of scope then?
I can jump in here. When we originally put the plan together, we were thinking, when we put the RFP together, we were kind of thinking there was a decision on Litchfield, but then that has since opened back up. So it's not a part of the scope when the RFP was put out in June and discussed in May, but we'll probably be coming back to the table with you.
Okay.
Should you be the company
Breaking
that's
news.
selected?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Thanks, Barry.
Sure thing.
Glad you
don't have
answered
enough on your
that.
plate, man.
If we move ahead with the study, what's the timeframe on it? I see a lot of things on
Yeah,
there.
absolutely, yes. And to do it right, you wanna take your time, and we feel that this is a very important step for you guys. The preliminary stuff in any project, whether it's this or whether it's the early design stuff, is very, very important. To really spend a lot of time in detail going through it, because that's where you're figuring things out, and you're not gonna slip up and miss something, or make a mistake, or say something, or deliver something that can't be done. So, so I say that, it's in the 4-month range, time frame that I'd like to try to get it done. But some of it, because we're starting a little bit later than I was hoping, and it's always nice when we usually do these, we're trying to do them during the summer when there's no students and faculty in the building, but obviously we are now. So we gotta work around that, and that's gonna kind of change some of the timeline at the beginning, type of thing. But there are areas we can get into the building, obviously, that doesn't affect the students. We can get into auditoriums and look at the mechanical spaces and all that type of thing. It's just the classrooms themselves, we don't wanna bother both the students or staff and everywhere. So we're probably in the 4-month time frame to get it all done, hopefully, if all goes well.
All done means to what step?
I'm sorry, what?
To what step? What is all done?
That would be doing the final presentations of it.
So when you do estimated costs, you count for inflation, because we're obviously not gonna build it all today, and then it's not cheaper than today, right?
Yep, it'll never be cheaper than it is right now. That's right. I mean, on rare occasions, the economy collapses, but none of us wants that. We generally look at today's dollars, and that's about all we can do, because, as I said, we had, as an example, we did a project about, I'll say 10 years ago, I don't remember exactly. It was before the economic collapse of 08, 09 timeframe, or whatever it was. And we were looking at a project and working with a school district for about a year on a project, and they were doing around a $30 million project is what it ended up being. And I remember presenting to the board, and one of the board members talking to me afterwards and saying, how are you estimating this? How are you, I mean, you're trying to look out so far on a project, and basically the economy, we do the best we can, and that's all we can do. And for New York State to actually have to go out to voters and get approval and everything, and they did that, and like 6 months later, the economy collapsed, and they ended up with extra money on the project, and the project was a very nice project for the district. But you don't know when that happens, and just the reverse can easily happen. All of a sudden things to skyrocket, and inflation go nuts on us, and that type of thing. And so that's a problem. So we generally look at today's dollars as best we can, and then knowing and understand that, okay, you pull out the report in 2 years, and you're looking at, you want to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, this was done 2 years ago. The economy's been growing, steady, but not going nuts. So let's add 3% per year or something like that, and then you're seeing that more.
So if there aren't any other questions, while Paul's passing out these informational packets for you. The next board meeting, September 9th, this will be, the 6th or the 7th? No, it's none of the dates I have. September 7th.
Thank you.
This will be brought up for a vote. As you recall, we put this out in June, I think it was. We had one response to the RFP. That's your presentation tonight. So, you guys will decide then on the 7th, whether to move forward with this or to start over, but Paul's prepared to, let's say, start on the 8th.
Sure.
Sure.
Maybe the 9th, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe the 9th. We'll negotiate that. We'll negotiate that, so.
So what's the initial commitment to start on the 9th?
Well, the facility study in and of itself has come in at a bid, and I'm gonna overestimate just a hair because I don't remember exactly, but it was under 140,000, it was like 136 or 7, if I remember right.
For the assessment?
For the facility study. Now,
Okay.
one of the things is, you know, with the American Recovery Act funds, the ESSER 3 funds, there is a tie to that. If you use that for building improvements, you have to have a facilities plan done and submitted to the state that the state reviews and approves. So for us to use any of the roughly $3 million we got at ESSER 3, we would need to do this anyway to turn into the state. The other piece of that is one of the people that Keystone subs with and works with is a firm out of Pennsylvania that's done some work with PlanCon. So even though PlanCon hasn't been funded by the state, I can't even tell you when, but it's been a while, we would submit the work for that as well. So that way, if funds ever did open up and it got down the pipeline to us, we'd have another avenue for some additional funding.
Is there a timeline when you have to submit that to the state and to PlanCon?
There is, that's a good question. Not for, I don't believe there is for the air funds, and I believe PlanCon can be submitted any time. Like at this point, we're in a new school year, so they wouldn't look at it until 21-22. So as long as we have something in, that's what it would be for PlanCon. But I believe if we say in our grant for ESSER 3, our submission, that we want to do some of this, we'll have to then soon after turn in the facility study. So.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Any other questions about the presentation? No? Okay, I'd like to recommend the minutes of the August 9th, 2021 meeting be approved as presented in Exhibit A.
So,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Instruction, Mrs. Agnew.
Yeah, the next curriculum instruction committee meeting will be held on November 8th, 2021 at 5:30 in the admin conference room. That's all. I'd like to make a motion to recommend the emergency instructional time for the 2021-2022 school year be approved as presented in Exhibit B. That is a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So if I could just share with the board and the community about the emergency instructional time, the state is allowing, again, for the school year during the pandemic, transition between remote learning and in-person instruction in the event that we need to close the schools. So the numbers are unlimited based on whether it be COVID cases or the county level or mandates that are put to us. So I just wanted to have this ready to go for the at the state level.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend Mr. Dayton Handrick's conference request to attend the principal cohort quarterly meetings at Blast IU-17 in Canton for the 2021-2022 school year be approved. Registration fee to be paid by the district. It's a motion.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No discussion, but just to share, it's a $60 fee for the year. I didn't put that in there, but I should have. Okay.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Athletics and Recreation, Ms. Wayman.
Athletics and Recreation Committee is gonna have a meeting on September 14th, 2021 at 6:30 here in the library. Department of Health recommends, all of those organizations. But at this time, the plan is outlining that masks are recommended for indoor only. There's no limitations for spectators. Again, subject to all of those masks, spectators all subject to what conditions are and what the state and other entities indicate. Social distancing, where feasible, is still within that plan. And masks, of course, must be worn on the buses for the athletes. So that continues to follow the mandate that is out there for buses. Just wanted to highlight a few of those items for the health and safety plan. The fall coaches are already aware of what those plans are as well, so they reviewed that in their meeting. We did talk about the soccer co-op. Did not have a lot of kids joining that co-op, but there are players in the boys and the girls that did join in, so we appreciate that there was an option for them. We did get Doug All did submit a recap of the summer recreation program. All things went well for the program, so they had art, music, STEM, and sports workshops, with the sports workshops changing every week. Great help from our advisors, Madison Wheeler and Jasmine Fairley. Another important thing to note was getting the students to the reading program. I know Dr. Delosio talked about the reading program at our last meeting, so just want to shout out to that program as well that was connected to our rec.
May I add there?
Sure.
So just to let the board and the community know, the reading program that was overseen by Mrs. Sharon Hildebrand, who has recently retired from the Sarah School District and will be missed. She oversaw the reading program for the 6 weeks, and all the students that participated either maintained their reading level, there was no loss, as well as many students increased their reading level to head back to Snyder Elementary School for the fall. So we're very excited about the progress that they made through that program. Thank you, Erin.
Sure. We weren't able to open up the pool this year, so Ms. Roll has that as a takeaway to get that pool back open for next year, but they still were able to have 40 to 50 students on average each week. Family ID registration went well. They were able to know where each child was at all times. Sign-out sheets and other safety measures that they put in place to make sure that the kids were well watched and knew where they were at all times. He did some special events with the track meet for children and parents to enjoy, a soccer tournament. They had ice cream. One of the coaches bought them ice cream on the last day. Carnival, and prizes to the winners of the game. So, and every child won a prize. So, we just wanted to thank the district for allowing them to offer this program to the community. So, just wanted to make sure that was noted, that after a year off with the summer rec program, our new recreation director moving in the right direction with our recreation program. So he wasn't, like I said, he wasn't present for the meeting, so we weren't able to go through the details for fall, but those details will be coming. Did talk through the bocce competition, so they're working through, and I don't know, Dayton, do you want to talk a little bit about the bocce? I know you were doing a special piece of that.
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting yet. We're kind of waiting for all 3 schools to get in session, but we are looking at, thanks to somebody sitting in front of me here who kind of put us in touch with the Sons of Italy. We're going to try to do just kind of a 3-way or 3-school thing with Sarah, Athens, and Waverly, and getting our kids over to play bocce probably once a month, at least during the day, and then a competition in the early evening, so we don't compete with any activities at the Suns, and for those students, I don't want to stretch. I don't want to stretch their day out too much. So hopefully we'll have that up and running here a little bit later this fall, and then I envision again playing a little bit in the spring.
Talked about, we've had a task on our calendars for some time, is, you know, we've got a lot that we've been working through, but one of the last items was improving the coaching experience at SARE. So Mr. Felt has been doing some work gathering what our current coaches experience, what are the tasks that they have to do, you know, what are some of those things maybe we can take some burden off of what we put on our coaches to make that experience better for them, and make you know, coaching in SARE the place to be. This is the place to be a coach, because we do have some open coaching positions. So just wanted to call out, and this was as of the meeting, so date and correct me if anything has changed. Junior high soccer is still open.
Correct.
Okay, junior high soccer, junior high track coach, an assistant girls track coach, and a swimming coach are all of our current open positions. Noting swimming, we did review our winter sports numbers, our fall sports numbers, our winter sports numbers as we continue to work through those. And we talked through our procedures that we have as we evaluate our numbers. So I'm just gonna, you know, it seems early, but it never hurts to, if you're thinking about a sport, whether it's still can sign up for fall, if it's winter, if it's spring, if you have any interest or know of a student who has interest in any sport or may have interest in a sport, sign up on Family ID now so the coaches know that you're interested and they can connect with you. You can always change your mind. We hope that you don't. We hope that you want to stay out for the sport, but just put your name out there that you're interested as soon as you know. And again, that's on Family ID or by reaching out to Mr. Felt or Mrs. Abby. I'm sure anyone in the offices can help you and get assistance to you. So just reach out or to one of the coaches to get yourself signed up. So just so you're aware, I'm trying to, can't even read my own handwriting. So our first point of really taking a look at our, deeper look at our winter numbers is September 15th. And that sets in motion some further activities with our coaching staff. And then after that, we go into November to really make a push if needed to get our numbers up for winter. I know we were going to have to tweak that a little bit after we had the privilege of understanding what the process is with PIAA, but you know, hopefully we won't have to go down that road because we're going to make sure that we've got the numbers that we need for the winter. So again, if you know anyone that wants to sign up, do so now. So, any questions about that? Okay. Recommend the individual listed below be employed as a coach for the 2021 fall season. Emily Garrity, junior high volleyball coach. And that's a motion.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Couple of volunteers. Recommend the individuals listed below be granted the opportunity to volunteer for the 2021 fall season. Hannah Garrity, and volunteer volleyball coach, and Matthew Koenig, volunteer football coach. And that's a
Second.
motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Buildings and grounds.
Sure. Okay, we met earlier tonight. The next meeting's Monday, October 25th at 5:30. discussion tonight just focused on the projects, which I believe we briefed the board at the last meeting, but the fire alarm system project is delayed till late October, waiting on parts that have computer chips in them. And the lighting project at Snyder, the upper lot is complete, everything's done, they're just waiting on the actual poles and lights for the lower part of the facility there. So they're hoping, at least they're telling us, they think they'll be in by the end of the month. So we're hoping by, first part of September that'll be done. While I have the floor for buildings and grounds, I just wanted to give the shout out to the buildings and grounds, the maintenance custodial staff. They've, worked really hard to get our buildings into shape. There were a lot of curveballs thrown at them this year, at this building particularly, with some new programs that we were running that ran later in the season and maybe more indoors, so it was a little tougher for them to get into rooms to get them cleaned and waxed, so they had to kind of alter schedule quite a bit. The fire alarm systems, as they put the little red things up, a lot of little white things come down out of the ceiling from the ceiling tiles, which they have to follow around and fix up. So there's been a lot of work with those kinds of things, and even just last Thursday afternoon, our carts for the BenQ boards came in. By Friday they were assembling them. By Monday, end of day, they were basically all put together, and for the most part the BenQs were on, and the tech guys were loading them up and getting them ready to be here for training this week. So been a busy summer for them, but I appreciate their work, so thank you,
I second
custodial
that.
maintenance
Open
folks.
house, it looked great, they did a great job, it was always, it'll get done, it'll be done right, there was never like a question in Richie's mind that he or Risk were right, we're gonna get it done. The grounds are put back together fabulously well after that lighting project at Snyder, so there were a lot of great things that happened in a short amount of time, and why you always wonder, is it all gonna come together? They always assured us.
We were really wondering this year.
Agreed.
Really,
But,
really wondering, but it did.
It came out very well, so thank you for your efforts.
Keep going.
Keep rolling, finance. The next finance committee meeting will be held on November 9th at 5:30 p.m. in the admin conference room. Bills, admin would like to recommend the bills for payment listed in Exhibit C be ratified, approved as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about the bills? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, I'd like to recommend the transfers listed in Exhibit D be approved as presented.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
The treasurer's report or Exhibits E, there's no action necessary with that. And recommend the taxes listed in Exhibit F be approved as presented.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Just keep rolling. Bus van drivers, we recommend the board approve the individuals listed below as bus and/or van drivers for the 21-22 school year, and that would be Joyce Husick, Kay Warner, and Rachel Benson.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Substitute custodian, recommend the board approve the individual listed below as a substitute custodian during the 21-22 school year, and that is Denise Hurd.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Ed,
Okay.
Mr. Do the hand carry.
do you have the hand carry?
Maybe, but I don't know. first. Substitute custodian. All right, substitute custodian, yet again. Recommend the board approve the individual listed below as a substitute custodian during the 21-22 school year, Denise Quattrini.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, she would like to spend a little extra time with us. Yeah, so she will give it her time on the weekend if it's needed.
Awesome.
Because 18 hours a day isn't enough.
Yeah. It's not enough work.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right. Lead cafeteria position, recommend that the board approve Carissa Leonard to serve as the lead cafeteria worker at H. Austin Snyder Elementary School effective August 23rd, 2021.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I had the privilege of meeting Miss Leonard this morning. She's nervously excited.
We got a van driver.
Personnel.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Guess I should come to work instead of taking a day off or something.
Want me to step in for you?
Van driver, recommend the board approve the individual listed below as a van driver for D&J School Bus Company during the 21-22 school year, Ruth Holly.
They forgot number 2, Jody Barber.
And number 2 would be Jody Barber. Jody Barber would be number 2, so it's Ruth Holly and, I just already forgot the name, Jody Barber. Judy Barber. Jody.
Jody.
Jody Barber.
J. Barber.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, there's a
Yep.
couple.
I'll keep rolling. Operations?
No, I just,
No?
so I'd like to recommend the board approve Sarah Sturpon.
Did we vote on that?
We didn't vote on the van.
Oh, we didn't vote on the van driver? Oh, okay, so we need a motion.
Motion.
And a second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention. Motion carries. All right, I'll go. I'd like to recommend the board approve Sarah Sturpon as a teacher for the start of the 2021-2022 school year. Mrs. Sturpon will be assigned at H. Austin Snyder School as a kindergarten teacher.
Motion. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would like to thank the board for allowing me to add a 4th teacher to our kindergarten numbers. For the 2 weeks prior to this past week, we have increased our number from just below 60 to 72 kindergarten students. We needed to move from 3 rooms to 4 to balance those rooms out. So we interviewed on Friday, second interviewed on Saturday, and that lovely young lady is working this evening to do an open house with her families that she was unable to do last week on the board's approval, and will be there first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So I'd like to recommend the board approve the professional listed below to serve as a mentor for the 2021-2022 school year. Mary Harris to Ms. Sturpon.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to thank Mrs. Harris for her above and beyond to make not only her classroom ready for open house in the first day of school, but stepped up without being asked to help out in that classroom for the new kiddo. So, yes, and Amy and Megan as well, but Mary, really did a great job, so we're very
I'm gonna,
grateful for that.
I will second you on that. Mrs. Harris did an outstanding job preparing that classroom that was not her classroom for those families that did stop by at open house last week and just took the lead. So I think she'll be a great mentor for Sarah.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Katrini, if I could just add to that, when I did make phone calls to those parents that informed them that their child was being removed from that classroom, I can't tell you how appreciative they were. You know, that's a pretty scary thing to think that you're sending off your 5-year-old to school for the first time, and that's happening, and after conversations explained that, we would be ready, and they appreciated the fact that we were doing it before school started and not into September or October, when those bonds and those relationships, not only with their teachers, but everyone that pushed into those classrooms and their friends, had formed. So I just like to thank them for the conversations that we had and their just overall excitedness to become part of the Sarah School District. Kind of makes you remember why you entered education in the first place, to hear that excitement in their voice. So just thank you to those parents for their patience and understanding with us as we move through this process with you.
That's awesome to hear. It's
Yeah.
nice to, that's what makes Sarah great, the fact that we're this small community, and we can reach out and do that for those folks, so thank you. So with that, community relations, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley. And first of all, I want to say, way to go to the administration team and staff for the great job on the red and blue welcome back bags to their entire education team. Great job. I saw the picture on Facebook and awesome. I guess that's just the one word that you can really use. Good job. Just wanted to make mention that we did have a community relations meeting. Let's see, it was about 2 weeks ago, and the big thing was we're planning for homecoming day on October the 9th. Tailgate, parade, and all kinds of festivities, so we hope everyone will be able to come out. We'll give you more details as the day progresses. Coming up on September the 18th, don't forget the Sarah Foundation has their historical scavenger hunt starting at the Snyder School and switching locations to the Blackburn 1897 in downtown Sarah. If any of you don't know the Blackburn, it's the former Rockman's and right next door to Chacona's Restaurant. And of course, we have till September the 4th to register for $20, maximum of 4 people per team. But if you still want to sign up after the 4th, then you're going to have to pay $25. And you can make payments to the district office or make your checks, if you are writing a check, to the Sarah Area School District Foundation. Let's see here. And of course, there'll be food and drinks, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and also a history presentation as well.
Can I just say something, Ron, because I see in our information, there's a thank you letter that was included. I don't know if I'm taking someone else's thunder here, but there was a thank you letter to the foundation from a student that graduated this past year. A thank you letter to the foundation for the scholarship that they received. So just to further emphasize why an event like that and getting people to participate is important. So just want to read this. This student said, honored to receive this award because I've always made it a priority to maintain good grades while also having good interactions with the people around me. They're looking to further their education at the University of Pittsburgh and planning to pursue a career in physical therapy. So just, showcasing what, it's a fun event, but there's really is a great purpose in this being an example of the scholarships that the foundation is able to provide to these students. So I hope people will sign up to participate.
Thank you, Ms. Wayman. And also I want to throw in there, we're They're starting up their deposit bottle and can drive for the Sayre senior class this year. You can drop off empty containers, clean empty containers, they say, at the entrances of the high school as well as Sayre Public Library. And I think it's 435 Broad Street in Waverly. I think I know what business that is, but I don't want to say anything. But it's 435 Broad Street. And also the free financial aid night at Athens Area High School. Sayre parents and students are welcome to that. September 15th at 6 p.m. Mrs. Richmond has all the details on that. So that's everything I have, Mr. Laterini, and I'm going to let Mrs. Agnew and falling and falling.
Well, first, for the environmental center, it's still being used quite a bit. And we recently, a few of us had gone out and cleared the trails. It should be all set for cross-country to be using it. I think Randy was supposed to go up and check it out, make sure it was all right, but it's ready to go for the cross-country team. That's all as far as the center itself. So the next thing is October 2nd, Falling Into Fun. Michelle's a big part of that too, and Ron. October the 2nd, 10 to 2. We've got everything pretty well set for it. If anybody happens to know, we're looking for someone to hopefully donate or very cheap, some small pumpkins for the kids to paint, because that's one of the things we want to have the kids doing up there is painting pumpkins. Definitely don't want any carving, but painting, but we're trying to find somebody that has just some small ones. We don't need big ones. So if anybody knows of anybody that would like to donate some, we certainly would appreciate that.
How many are you looking for?
We
20
don't,
to 30, we really don't know.
we don't
yet,
know
so
how
maybe,
many,
you know,
I mean, just as many as we could get, I guess, really.
Sure, okay.
Because if we don't have enough, we'll give them out to kids at the school, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
we can always find some kind of project to do something.
Right,
with
right,
that at
we'll
school. We're
donate
gonna make
to
the paintbrushes out of nature as kids go through their nature walk. So the paintbrushes are gonna be
Yeah, it's really
made
cool,
out
yeah.
of environmentally friendly materials that we're gonna
Yeah,
put
yeah,
together.
exactly, so,
The save the date should went out to on Facebook,
oh, okay.
so we were set with that, so thank you for that as well too. And apple recipes, start digging them out, we're
Oh,
gonna have
yes.
first, second, third place, contest for some, anything you can make with
Apples.
apples. Alice, your name
Ooh,
was
there's gonna
brought
be
up
a-
that you're gonna bring your apple crisp.
Yeah,
so-
an apple hunt, we're gonna do an apple hunt.
Yep.
Instead of an Easter egg hunt, it's an apple hunt. We're gonna have apples through the
Yep.
trails, because one of the big thing as far as the community relations wellness part of it is walking the trails. And we have a conservationist who has joined our committee, and he's gonna set up some trail to walk and explain things and stuff.
Creature searching in the pond, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be,
Yeah, he's got quite a bit,
Yep,
you know, set up, so it's not a whole lot of things, but for the first year, we think it's a nice start, and we're working pretty good on that, so if anybody would like to join, by all means, help with the committee or come for the day, definitely, I'm hoping we'll see a lot of people, bring the kids up there, I think they're really gonna enjoy it.
our next meeting will be at Riverfront Park. If you'd like to
That's
join
it.
us.
Yes, Michelle, it is. That's all I have.
Can I add one more thing too,
Yeah.
before I forget? These are great, these principal letters. I hope all the parents and students get these and they read them over. These are a great resource. And don't forget to check the Facebook pages and our website. And, like I said, there's loads of information out there. Fun information too.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Agnew?
No, that's all.
All right, thank you very much. So for technology, the next technology committee meeting will be scheduled, well, not until 2022. So we got some time for that. But we did have a technology committee meeting on August 16th. We talked about all the interactive displays. As you can see, one of those beautiful BenQ boards right in front of us. So all the stands have been assembled and all the boards have been mounted to stands. There's a couple boards that need to be mounted to walls, but they're on stands currently, waiting for the wall mounts to come in. Let's see, security cameras, there's been 40 or more security cameras here at the high school. Some of them have been, there's been additional cameras that have been ordered. All the network runs are being installed. We're on hold for some cameras to arrive. The server refresh, all the parts and pieces for the new servers are here, and they're putting them together and programming them and getting them all ready to be swapped over. So let's see, the E-rate at the high school, the fiber, all the fiber, the copper, all the switches, the firewalls, the access points, 70% of that has been done. At Snyder, the Juniper switches have been disentangled. What I was told, they took out, I don't know, what, 150 pounds of spaghetti Cat5 cable, so. Mr. Claypool informed us about the fire alarms earlier. A network rack has been moved into the stem to be secured. So they had a printer project to normalize naming. I don't know, they think it's easier the way they've named the printers, but I don't know what you guys thought. Some of the names seemed a lot longer than printer 1 and printer 2, but anyway. They think it's easier for them to keep track of what's going on. Let's see. So we talked about BenQ and some mobile device management, X-Sign and broadcasting, which I thought was a really neat feature, these BenQ boards. Administration will be able to turn them on and remotely and send broadcast messages for emergency situations and all that kind of thing right across the board. So, so even if my board is off, they'll be able to turn it on and send that message across. So Google is now able to sync to Skyward for classroom grades. So that's hopefully that'll help streamline that for parents. Skyward will automatically send emails to parents when certain grade thresholds are met. So Skyward will automatically push out notifications to moms and dads when juniors' grades are below 70 and so on. And Skyalert can now text. So for those of you that missed it, the short code is 67587. So that's the code. As parents, you can type into your cell phone and then text Y to 67587 if you want to get Skyalert test. So if you missed that notification that came out a while ago, you can still join and get those texts. So that's all I had for technology. To quote Mr. Hessler, questions, comments, confessions, or complaints? All right. Thank you very much. So for information, we have an updated 21-22 school calendar. That was Exhibit G.
Yes. So just to make you aware, there's no change to any of the dates. It really is just showing the 15 student early release days. And those have also been put on the school district calendar so that they're on our website, they're on our calendar if you're connected to our Google Calendar, and they're on our district calendar that will be uploaded tomorrow.
And these are now
Jill.
district-wide dates.
They are district-wide. The high school will release at 1, and the elementary will release at 1:25.
I had the same question.
Yeah, that's okay. And a couple of the pieces of information behind the differential between the high school going first at 1 and the elementary at 1:25 is that for some families, they need the high school student to arrive home first to accept the elementary student in some cases. So we thought we would release the high school first. And secondly, for the teachers that are staying and working, our elementary school releases every day at 3:05, and so those teachers have 25 minutes in the classrooms. Whereas here at the high school, the students release at 3:26, and the teacher day is over on contraction at 3:30. So we want to give those high school teachers a little more time, 15 times through the year. So for those two reasons, that's the decision we went with from the 1 o'clock and the 1:25.
Any questions about the school calendar?
We got it. Okay.
Got that all under control, Ms. Zagler?
Oh, she does.
All right.
Yes.
Any questions about the calendar?
The Give Back Snow Days are plugged in here, correct?
There's very few give back snow days this year, that's
Okay.
correct, yes.
May and March.
Thank you. Yes, there's one in March and one in May.
Okay.
Okay? We're going to have a very good year, we're not having any snow days. I
No
did,
more
you
42
know,
inches, no.
42, I have 48 at my house, so.
Well, depends on what yardstick.
Here, we're having a light snow this year. Pretty good.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
Yeah,
All
right.
All right.
All right, so principals reports, Mrs. Morel.
Gamble.
Yeah, right.
No, I don't think so, it's just
No,
information.
It's just, we're not changing any days.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Morel?
So we had a very successful open house. We tried something new this year. I don't know why I was worried. Everyone said, Michelle, it will be fine. I should just learn to listen and go with it. And my teachers assure me that it will be. So they were ready to go. We welcomed everybody K to 6. Had a fantastic time. Kids smiled. They were happy to see their teachers. Look forward to seeing the other support staff that they work with. Even looking for their friends that they had made in the Walker Circle. So we've got some connections to reform tomorrow, so we're very excited for that. So again, it just reminds me why I chose education when you see all those excited little faces coming in through the school, looking for their teachers and the people that they work with. A big thank you goes out to the PTG. If you have time, please stop by. They purchased 3 banners that welcome everybody to H. Austin Snyder Elementary School. We placed them over the doorways, to our entrances, so thank you for that. Tomorrow in the Walker Circle, please stay in your car when you drop your child off. Please don't get out. It makes the process go much quicker. If your child's having difficulty separating, we'll move you down to a parking spot at the end of the drive so we can keep that traffic moving. We'll start moving the circle at 8:05, and hopefully we will be in the first couple days. I'm hoping for 8:12, so we'll see how that goes. If anybody, and I'm sure they do, has a new book bag, a new lunch pail, a new coat, a new sweatshirt, a new instrument, anything you've got, please put your name on it. You would be surprised after the first 2 weeks of school how much stuff is left over. So please make sure there's a name on it. And if it's lost, please have your child look for it. There's quite a few things that are often left behind. Device rollout for our kids in K through 6 will happen on the 2nd and 3rd day of school. So thank you in advance for the teachers and the tech department for their cooperation with that. Very excited. So just a reminder, while you're putting names on all those new book bags and things, go through your room. It's a little late now to do it, but maybe over the course of this weekend, find that computer. We have a couple that haven't been returned. And those chargers, if you don't bring your computer back, we're going to hold your computer privileges for a couple days at school until we can determine where that computer is. So we only have less than a handful, so let's try and get those computers and chargers back. I'm probably forgetting something. Again, thank you to everybody. Sorry if I'm forgetting anybody, but it really was all hands on deck with professional development, with getting the school back together. We've had very busy days, and their rooms are off and ready to go. So just thank you everybody for their efforts, and very excited to see all those smiling faces tomorrow. Our enrollment as of right now, which is 8:15, and it will probably change, is 512 with 7 students enrolled in SOLA. So that's where we sit right now, 512 with 7 of them being SOLA. That's all that I have.
Real quick.
Yep.
Clarify. Parents can't get out of their vehicle and walk their student up at Snyder. Is that what you said?
If they're in the Walker Circle, yes. They continually drive through. If they're a walker, they can get out and walk up. Like that's.
So last year, we didn't allow what you're saying now, right, because of COVID, right? They parked,
Well,
and then you directed them up when you were ready?
Right.
Is that gonna be the same
Yep.
thing this year?
Unless they're a walker, then they can walk onto property and pick up their kids and walk out, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I add just 1 or 2 things quick, since we're talking about Snyder and drop-off and things like that? Last year, a lot of people dropped off on Mohawk Street. We would prefer that you don't do that because it's an area where we have vehicles exiting the school grounds right there, and it creates some congestion issues. Also related to Snyder, the road construction that's going on in Route 199 is going to be moving up up Mohawk Street to the corner of Mohawk and Keystone, and it's actually going to move out onto Keystone. So that may impact a couple of things. One, our crossing guards at Mohawk and Hopkins, and our crossing guard at Keystone and Mohawk. We're working with the PennDOT folks to see if we can keep those spots there. We're going to have to move them at this particular point. We're keeping those, but we're kind of in active discussion and see what happens as they move that up. They think that's probably going to start next week where they move into Keystone a little bit. So, and I'm sure that will create a additional level of difficulty for people dropping off their child into the walker and drop-off circle, but because that's going to be one lane through that area.
We worked through that though last year, so please don't rush or get upset if you're late, because we can tell how many lines of traffic that we put through there. So if we knew there's usually 6 lanes of traffic that went through and we did 4, we just stayed. And if the teachers had to go in, then we just stayed out. So we'll work through that. We'll be flexible. Now, if you're getting out of bed at 8:30 every morning, that's gonna be a different, if you're coming to school because you're a little bit late. But if it's traffic concern, please don't worry about it. We'll work through that in the office. In the principal's office.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Morrell. Mr. Hendrick?
We had 4 very good days of professional development, a busy schedule for all, including everybody on the admin team. Mrs. Ely scheduled us pretty full, and she kept us running around and jumping around. But it was very well received by the staff, and we accomplished a lot in 4 days. And speaking of accomplished a lot, I managed to arrive at just the right time to unload the trucks at about 2:30 last Thursday. Yes, it was already unloaded here. But I really didn't think there was any way we'd get 80 boards out and around. So tech, maintenance, Mr. Howie and I schlepping them around and sweating on Monday. And they're a little bit, yeah, they wheel pretty easy, but that's not exactly maneuverable based on its size. It's a little trickier than it looks. So everybody really, it's a total team effort. I emailed home the tech agreement today. We need a signed tech agreement prior to students being issued a device, just to try to spread that out a little bit over the next couple days. Students will also be given one if they can't print one tonight. Sweetheart and Heroes had a great session with those guys today. They will be here Thursday to do assemblies for at the high school and the elementary school to do assemblies for kids. And 6 o'clock in our auditorium Thursday night. I really hope some parents come out to see what Tom and Rick have to say. It's very inspirational. Along with events for parents, it appears that the financial aid night at Athens will be the only financial aid night this fall. So if somebody's going to go, FIA I think has been stretched a little thinner, and with COVID they're not making as many stops, so that may be your only option. I don't know about next spring yet. Even though the weather doesn't feel it and it's going to get even warmer, we do have our first home football game this Friday night, so please come out and support our team. We're ready to welcome students back tomorrow. And I'm going to apologize to the online viewers out there today because the tennis match that you guys had going, it was a little bumpy. So I hope nobody watching online got seasick. That's it for me.
Date, what time Thursday night? Maybe?
6 o'clock.
Do you know your total enrollment date, SOLA, separated like Michelle did, do you know?
I can tell you SOLA is 25 because I sent them an email, but we've had, with so many going in and out, I don't, off the top of my head, I didn't get a chance to see Mrs. Brandt today.
Mr. Hendrick. Last, Mrs. Agnew.
Yeah, we just had our meeting last Wednesday. As far as student services, the ESY program, they had served 193 students at 5 locations across Bradford and Lycoming counties. So that was a good turnout there. Educational planning. Oh, and a couple big things. The statewide system of support regional lead, the IU-17 was selected to serve as the Region 5 lead for 2 of the 4 statewide accelerated learning initiatives, including scaffold supports and academics. So that's a real big thing out of so many different ones for us to be selected. And then the STEM regional lead, they were selected by PDE to serve as one of 4 regional STEM leads. These are quite accomplishments for the IU. A grant, they were selected to receive a $50,000 grant to support STEM learning within the IU programs. Open house, leadership, their ESSER funding, they did finally find out that they're receiving $946,205 in ARP ESSER funding to be allocated in part to providing and developing services to meet the increase in youth mental and behavioral health needs across the region. The COVID testing. The IUs are partnering with PA Department of Health to support site-based COVID testing at participating schools and to serve as a liaison between schools. And the regional monitoring reports, they they're going to resume the regional COVID reporting for schools in the IU Board of Directors, so everybody knows. Each week, they put it out on a board, what the numbers are and what we're in. I think we're in higher than I recall 2 weeks ago. Otherwise, I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Agnew. NTCC, Mr. Cole.
Thank you again, Mr. Petrini, and yes, we did meet live for a change last Wednesday. They've got everything paved down there, everything's looking nice. The building is beautiful now, they've got the expansion in, we took a little tour of that building. Just to let you know, there are 35 SARE students that will be attending Northern Care Career Center this year as well, starting the year. And also that we'll be doing work on the HVAC unit down there, cost of about $132,000. So that should get underway probably here in the next few weeks, and hopefully will be done before the SNOW flies. I don't want to say that, I don't want to say the word. So, and also, I had the honor of attending the practical nursing graduation last Thursday evening in Towanda. They had 13 students that graduated. Very proud that one of our alumni from SARE from 2004, Dustin Spiegel, graduated, and he earned a leadership award, a class award for their graduating class, and also there's like a I don't know if it's a fraternity, but it's some kind of group that they have down there for nursing students called the Odd Fellows, and he was one of the people that was chosen to receive an award for the Odd Fellows. And also he was, I want to say, but don't hold me, I think he was salutatory class as well. So, like I said, very proud of that young man. I've known him for a long time. I want to say congratulations to all the nursing students down there. That's everything from Northern Tier Career Center. And on the PSBA, just want to let everybody know, if you hadn't seen, the live conference is now canceled. So they had, according to the reports, they said that they had low enrollment, so they have canceled the live conference at Kalahari, but they are moving it hybrid starting October 25th through the 27. They will be having their equity summit on October 25th, October 26th. The Start Strong onboarding program and the school law workshop will be on the 27th. Also, all school directors monthly exchange is back September 21st for all board members at 12:30 p.m. And also, the PDE has released their volume 3 of the ESSER and Gear Extra, which describes the funding for that is available out there for education. So again, just to pass that word along, if anybody wants to take a look at that and see what the plans are as far as health and safety plans and what's being proposed, et cetera, and what's being reported, it's there. So that's everything I have this evening, Mr. Proofreading.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Cole. I'd just like to say thank you to all the teachers that let me bend their ear this morning. I came for opening day, and instead of myself just blabbering at the gums, I took time to sit and talk to teachers and relish, I guess, in their excitement for the start of the day, along with their frustrations and stuff. So it was very good. It was great to get to know them and talk to them this morning. So thank you, and I hope you guys are all ready to go starting tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be those last minute things you think of tonight that, oh man, I forgot. But good luck to you tomorrow. Good luck to all the students. Let's have a great school year. That's all I got.
So as everybody has been giving the reports, I've been crossing things off with my report. I am going to shout out though to Mrs. Alice Bennett, who's sitting back there, and her team for serving a delicious breakfast this morning to the entire staff. It was very good. I even, I took a moment to partake myself, so thank you. Thank you.
So I'm glad you said Mrs. Bennett, because Mrs. Bennett said, Pete, could you shout out for me today? I can't remember what she asked me. Subs. She's in desperate need of subs in the kitchen. So if anybody would like to sub in the cafeteria, I'm sure she'll. Right, maybe she is. But stop and see Mrs. Bennett. She'll
Yeah.
take care of that. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So I will second what many of the other administrators said between the tech team and the maintenance team. In June, we always think to ourselves, boy, we have all summer, we'll get it done. And before you know it, August 1st hits and you think it's not going to happen, but it all happened. It all happened. The BenQ stands came in, the boards, they were put together, the boards were mounted. Those boards weigh approximately 180 pounds each. So Mr. Bunker had put a lift together to hoist them up and get them connected to the stands at the elementary building. They were hand lifting them and putting them on the stand so that they would have them ready for the teachers and for their training. So I appreciate that. We have ordered the SASD Learning Social Studies curriculum late July, early August. Many of the boxes arrived on Friday at 4 o'clock here. So they were being maneuvered from the high school building to the elementary building. We'll get those in the hands of the teachers and get them inventoried and out. So that will happen as well. The professional development, I enjoyed walking around and greeting staff and welcoming them back and participating in some of the professional development. Some of the professional development the administrative team worked through this summer, so we would be prepped and ready prior to the teacher's return. So that was enjoyable throughout the entire 4 days. I am very excited to have welcomed Sweethearts and Heroes, Tom Murphy and his team today to the Sayre Area School District, supported by a multitude of different monies that we have received from, I think it's the EITC program that we get once in a while, Barry, that I think early summertime that money came in as additional grant money that came in. So we earmarked it for Sweethearts and Heroes. And they provide a message of hope, and they provide support to our students and our school community. And I'd be remiss to say that their opening this morning to the entire staff of 150 plus was well received. well received by the entire team. And then the rest of the day, they stayed right here in our school building and ran circles with small groups of teachers between 8, 10, and 12. And at the end of the day, at about 3:45, the administrative team came to my office and we made a circle, not around the table, but in my office, sat very close together, and Tom Murphy ran a circle with our team of administration. We learned a lot about each other. And when that was over, Tom and I came up to the library loft, and the board participated in circles this evening. So I appreciate you coming early and participating in those circles. I think that as I've gone through multiples at this point in time, each one is a learning lesson for me and a learning lesson for those that participate, and really just experience it in an authentic manner. So I do look forward to them coming back and meeting our students on Thursday, followed by a parent night Thursday evening, and then they'll be back with our middle school level then on Friday as well. All right, and then just a bit of information for the board and the community. The Sunshine Act that oversees a lot of what we do as a school board, they updated some of their information on August 29th of this year. We will no longer be allowed to do hand carry items. It must be on the agenda, and the agenda must be posted 24 business hours before the meeting occurs. So we'll make sure it's out on our website on the Friday before a board meeting, and have everything wrapped up. The hand carries this evening were all appointments that came in over the weekend and or today, but we will have to hold those in the future. So I wanted to let the board know that as well.
When
So
does that go into effect, Joe?
August 29th, and a few more days. 6. There you go. Thanks, Mr. Petrini.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Rosen. With that, anybody have anything else?
Let's make a motion to adjourn, and it's 1:34 at Midway Island right now, so I'll make that a motion.